Welcome, everybody, to the Wellness Founders Podcast, where we explore the business of wellness and the people creating the future of well-being. Today, we've got Graham Weiner on the podcast, an expert in botanical design and care. You got 20 years experience across many different climates, skilled in many disciplines. You've been in Costa Rica for over a decade. Seems like you've worked on a lot of projects there. You've got your own farm, Okhra Farms. You have a restaurant, farmtotables.cr, Agua Felina, your probiotic drink brand, and there's many other maybe botanical design projects you've done or are involved in currently, including Recenter, where I met you in Santa Teresa like last month. So it's good to see you again since then. How you doing, brother?
Man, good to see you too. It's an awesome introduction.
We try. We
Love
try
that.
to have an introduction. I feel like it's so much better to introduce the person than to have them introduce themselves, because most people don't want to introduce themselves and they also downplay how cool they are. You may be one of those people who probably downplays how cool he is. Um, but when I met you, you had a red light face mask on while you were stretching with your dog in this Costa Rican jungle getaway that I had booked. I had a
Yeah.
visa trip that I had to leave Colombia, and I went to this little place, and I was the only one staying there, so it would be random if I saw someone. And then I go into the gym that day, and you're there, and come to find out, like, you helped to design. In correct me if I'm wrong, but you helped with the botanical design. What's the extent of how you helped to build that recenter wellness location, and what is it that you did exactly?
Yeah, sure, man. I think it was also dark when we met. So
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
had you had
All
you
I
had
could see
gone
was
for
the
a
red light.
run. Yeah, you had gone for a run, and when I was driving over there, I saw someone absolutely hauling on like the little road next to the beach, and then I realized I put two and two together once I saw you. So that was funny. Just you came out of the dark back from your run, and my dog's barking at you, and I just have a red kind of stormtrooper looking red light mask while doing I was doing some hip myofascial release, and that was really a funny way to meet.
But not
Yeah,
uncommon in the wellness
not
world, right? Like
uncommon,
that,
not
like
uncommon. It's all synchronized. It couldn't have been more synchronized. I mean, I don't know how many people are just meeting someone and kicking it off like that. So it was really it was meant to be. What can we say?
awesome, man. Well, tell me about
Yeah,
Recenter. Like, well, the
man,
project with
Recenter's
Recenter.
sick, dude. Recenter's sick. I um the founder of it, Ben Lee, has become a really good friend. And when he came to town with the ambition to start a wellness retreat, it's a couple years ago, and wellness hadn't begun trending, at least not to my knowledge or in this community's knowledge. And so I don't think anyone realized exactly how sick it was going to be. And I think it's very easily the nicest, the best, the most forward thinking and accommodating retreat center in the country, which is just so sick to be a part of it. And then my part of it was mainly yeah, I mean he this part of Costa Rica was deforested like 75 years ago by Costa Ricans primarily for cattle and timber. And so my job as a landscape designer is to go into villas or restaurants or hotels and make them more green than when I found them. And we're not going to restore the original primary forest because that would take hundreds, if not thousands, of years. So we're just trying to make it fit into the color palette of the rest of the design team. If it's just me by myself choosing stuff, then I'm choosing the colors, which are usually pink dominant or a lot of random colors. Trying to bring in a lot of pollinators, bringing in hummingbirds and butterflies and bees and stuff, because that creates like a balanced ecosystem and just a nice environment that's really conducive to wellness. When you see the ecosystem thriving, I think that it helps one thrive, helps me thrive. That's for sure. It's cool. It's like in the movie Interstellar, they wake up out of the deep sleep, and one of the scientists is having some anxiety coming out of his deep slumber, and Matthew McConaughey puts a headset on him, and it's just crickets. he puts on the sound of crickets when they're in deep space in order to bring that sense of home. So yeah, bringing in pollinators, colors, trees, shade, privacy, various, there's some utility, there's some aesthetic, and that's really it, you know.
It's so cool, man, because it's a new concept to me that there's people out there that go and do landscape design and bring in like the thought of an external ecosystem into a restaurant or hospitality or whatever. But it totally makes sense that that would be a real thing, and it would be an awesome thing to do if you're really good at it, which it seems like you probably are. Um, so when you go into a project, what what is like your process to determine? And you said that if it's just me, so it sounds like you might have a team that's involved, and sometimes it might just be you. Like, how much are you going in there and strategizing? How is it that you're going through a process to determine what goes into this landscape? And how much is it also dependent on the person who owns the property versus you giving them the strategy?
Yeah, some projects, there's a lot of cooperation with the client, and other ones, they just want you to do it and make it look sick, basically. And so, um, there's a utilitarian element to landscape architecture, and I don't want to like bore you with the history of gardens, but just to jump on this podcast, I was closing a window of YouTube of like an hour-long history of 18th century gardens, which is what I was watching last night while I was eating dinner. So that's, I'm not going to take you that deep into the art of it, but there's a utilitarian component. Do we need shade here? Do we need privacy there? Um, there is it just like I really like thinking of it as an art, just like painting or music or anything else. And so figuring out a way to have that landscape express the land and where and what the client is trying to create, where I'm at as a human being at that moment in time, how I'm feeling creatively, just really kind of listening to a variety of factors, and just trying to make something super sick, really. Just it's so easy to plant, to put plants over there. It's easy to paint a picture or make a song, but what is it about art that makes it stick and makes it special? Who's to say? So,
And when you think about the business of landscape design and how you got into this, when was it that you knew that this could be a business that you do? And then how did you come up with the model that you currently use?
well, I was following it as a passion pretty much since I was a child. So I studied botany in university, and I thought I wanted to go the public service kind of route, which is working in a botanical garden, which are like union institutions. So botanical gardeners are often living like public school teachers. So it's a position with a lot of honor and respect, but not particularly well compensated, and oftentimes not particularly creative. There's certain like frameworks set up to a curriculum for elementary schools in a certain state or nationwide or something, and the botanical garden also has certain protocols. And I think that probably when I was maybe 24, after a couple years of being at the Brooklyn Botanical Garden, that I said to myself, I want to, I was having really deep, intricate conversations with people that were like donors, at these like charity ball type things that were happening there, where people who had a lot of economic means were donating large sums of money because of their passion, and they had a lot of philosophical views on that. And I just kind of found myself wanting to be more involved with the client, have more resources available, more creativity, and then obviously the salary cap of the kind of public garden space is very limiting and not that exciting to me, especially as being 23 years old. So I just thought I'm going to go to some of these people's houses a lot of them, are like billionaires and make really sick gardens instead of this. And I like doing that. And I was getting good feedback. And when I moved to Costa Rica, it was not with any type of business in mind. But I saw this town was about to start developing quite a bit, and so that's a really good time to get involved in landscape design. And a lot of people that were moving here were also extremely successful financially speaking. And the type of houses that we're getting a lot of architectural merit internationally, top thinkers, creators, athletes, tech people, whatever, were coming here with a lot of purchasing power. And so I just thought, wow, this is really the right place at the right time for this.
And what was the first intuition you had to go to Costa Rica in general? And like why did you go there?
Yeah, so the thing is with gardening is that it's often seasonal, and so you know was a school was in school, elementary school, middle school, high school, went straight to college, played college lacrosse. Never really had the winter off. Like you hear about this gap year, which is very common amongst Europeans, where they get to travel, or Israelis have that as well, and in different cultures or boarding schools or whatever, there's maybe kids that get it, but typically in America, you go straight from high school to college. And so I never had that gap year opportunity. I think I was 23 at that point, and I had something like 6 weeks off from the garden project that I was doing at that time. I had like broken off from the botanical garden, was working for two different families, private estates in Fairfield County, Connecticut. Had a lot more money than I never had before. Was working for myself and had 6 weeks. And some friends wanted to go. My brother's friend was in a reggae band and was playing down here. And I just thought, now is the time. And it was a very easy decision to make. It was like staying in Connecticut um, in the winter. A couple of the winters prior, for example, I had valeted cars, which was a tremendous amount of fun. But in this case, I didn't have to do that this year, so I didn't. And I came here to Costa Rica and immediately fell in with a really tight community. And someone asked me to start a hostel, which is actually what I came here to do. That hostel is called Lost Boyz with a Z, and is like an iconic brand. It's still going now in its 11th year, and
I
it's
saw it on
pretty
my
sick.
run.
Yeah. Did you pop inside?
No, I just ran by it when I was running
Okay.
that one day.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. It's enticing, but not enough to pull you out of a run necessarily.
Well, nothing did. I was that day
Exactly.
I was running by everything. Oh, actually, only there was one smoothie stand. That was the only thing that got me.
You were
So
moving. You were
yeah,
moving.
yeah,
I remember driving by it enough to remember it was the same person that I
that's funny.
met later in the day. Oh,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
guy's moving.
yeah. It was yeah, that was a tough road too. Like especially on the way back up. Um, yeah. So I
That's
so
correct.
so you got to Costa Rica. You're like, this is for me. Tell me about the first. So you decide to build a hostel. Yeah, tell me about the
Mm,
chapters here. So there's like a chapter of building this hostel.
yep,
Like, what were you involved in at the hostel? How did you identify that as a good business opportunity? Like, what were the
sure.
thoughts then?
Guiding things for business for me have always been things that I'm really passionate about and having faith that they're going to be profitable as a result of that. And I have not experienced the opposite yet. So the hostel at that moment in my life, I had, as I was saying, pretty locked in, multi-sport athlete in high school, college athlete in university, straight working out of university. And so I felt like I was getting sucked into a system that wasn't necessarily designed to serve me and that wasn't feeling very energetically profitable. And so those were the primary business options. New opportunity that was exciting, current opportunity not as exciting on a deep you know, on a deep energetically level, energetically exciting, not about financially exciting. So I was making a lot of money for a 23-year-old having my own business, doing landscape stuff in Connecticut. So it wasn't about money. It wasn't about the end result. It was very much about the journey, which felt very aligned to me at that moment in time. We rented a house. The two other guys were 17 and 19. I was 24. They were brothers. They had just inherited like $35,000 from their grandpa. We rented a house for 1,300 bucks. We built the bunk beds out of practically like scrap wood, and the house was, yeah, $1,300 a month. We got it to a capacity of like 25 people. Spent maybe a month and a half fixing it up, um, and that was pretty much it, man. Just got put ourselves on Hostel World. Was the easiest point of access of all of the booking sites back then. And that was pretty much it. It went very well. We eventually moved to a different space in 2018, and now there's private rooms, there's luxury rooms, there's a restaurant, there's a bar, there's a pool table, there's a pool, there's a big tree house, has capacity for 45 people. It's like semi-luxury, but it just started off very cliche, a bunch of people in one giant room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your involvement then compared to your involvement now, were you operating it then, and now you're just part owner? Do you still have operating um, power in that now, or you've hired a bunch of good people to take over?
Yeah, so my in 2018, the other projects that I got involved in here were which were my are my true passions, working with plants and um, living, with the beverages and the farm to table and stuff. It's all kind of wrapped in one. The hostel, still love it and very much a part of it, but sold my sold my shares to the other two guys that I started it with, and they brought in another kind of operating owner to replace me, basically, who's a pre-existing friend, and felt very organic, natural, and super happy to pass it on to him.
And you feel like that's been part of just your own personal evolution of like, obviously a hostel is a lot of drinking, a lot of like
Mm.
stay up late, casual encounter, things that maybe based on what I know about you from our conversations, maybe some of that you've outgrown. But like,
Mm.
how do you feel like your evolution tracked along with the career path choice?
Yeah, sure. Growing up in Fairfield County and playing lacrosse and stuff was kind of very much into smoking weed and binge drinking from a young age. And I wasn't, I was still pleased with the results I was getting from my life at that point in time. Through college, big drinker, big party guy. Um, and then moving here, starting in this hostel, there's no police officers in the town at that point in time. You're living in the hostel with a bunch of people who are on vacation and travelers, and the hostel was doing very well. So again, still no negative feedback. And at that point in time, I just really, um, it was like living like the stereotype of like a musician on tour. It was kind of like that. It was just like every day was
And the tour came to
basically.
you. The tour came to you too. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. The tour came to me. We didn't have to go anywhere. So it was just living. It was like living in a lot of ways in like a 24/7 party, and that was going on for years, really. And that led me to embrace a 12-step program. So that was about 3.5 years ago, and so I've actually not drank or used drugs in about 3.5 years, and my experience with that was I think atypical because I've maintained the same friends, and I added more friends for sure, but I didn't have to eliminate anybody. Probably see the dealer less than I was seeing the dealer prior to, but my circle didn't change too much, and the things I was doing didn't change that much. The way I feel about life has changed a lot, and I could not be happier with the my choice to embrace sobriety. But yeah, I would say it's all kind of part of one evolution of uh, you know doing what serves me and what's feeling the most energetically profitable. And you know, at 33, So about 9 years later of living like an on-tour musician with just not really knowing what day of the week it was and not, just such amazing times really. Uh, it wasn't profitable for me energetically. It was the opposite. It was contracting. It felt like it was um, not fun anymore. So I just gave that up and haven't looked back and could not be happier with that decision. Um, that was good.
I love the phrase and the concept of going after things that are energetically profitable. And I think if
Mm,
that is used as a barometer for how to live life, how to do business, especially in like the wellness business where it's pretty much focused on delivering services or products that help people with their energy or help people heal or help people in that realm. So if you're doing that for yourself as a founder, as an owner of that business, and you're really truly living the values of what it is that you're trying to serve as far as your customer. So I love that. So you get to a point in your life where you're giving these things up. You're really pushing forward with the farm and the restaurant, the beverages. Tell me about that stretch of time where that was all being developed and like kind of to where you're at today. Like what have been the stages of progress with those things?
sure. Yeah, like so 2 years into starting the hostel, I found an organic farm in the area that is owned by a guy named George, who became a really good friend. I live on the same property as him now. So me and his three kids and his wife are all kind of like one big happy family. And basically, they were they own a 90-hectare piece of land, so about 220 acres, and that was the main business focus of their operation. It was not the farm, and so I saw a good opportunity to add to the products that were being grown here, what was being sold here. I was just a young, energetic person. The hostel was not taking a ton of my time. It's mainly volunteers and running itself, and so I just started popping up to the farm where I am right now, actually in like 2016, and just volunteering. Eventually, the guy doing deliveries couldn't do it anymore. I started doing deliveries. I didn't speak Spanish. I used the deliveries as a way to learn Spanish, interacting with the staff in the kitchen, interacting with Spanish-speaking restaurant owners and private chefs over the phone, and it just felt like a really good opportunity to have something related to my career field running in the background of the hostel. The farm to table, same kind of story. It's the highest point in this little peninsula that we're on, the highest elevation. We have just a giant slab of wood which sits about 22 people, and there's a chandelier over it. And we've had a lot of really cool people up there. I've had like just to name drop a bit, had like Matt Damon, had Justin Trudeau. We've had all types. Those two were particularly exciting for me. Um, a long list of people like that. And it's mainly food from the farm, and everything else is sourced from within 1 kilometer. So that's the fish and uh, as the primary meat, and then we could also do red meat and stuff. And yeah, they do an hour and a half tour of the farm. We partnered up with a local French wine shop. There's wine pairing. There's different options. We do pop ups, and I take them on a farm tour. Then we go to the table, sunset cocktail, watch the sunset, and 5 courses, and it ends pretty early, so it's people can do whatever they want after that. And yeah, they were happening. They needed some fresh energy, someone to take it over. It kind of felt really, really exciting to me at that time to be involved in something like that in a foreign country, and especially when I just come here initially to be on vacation, and then okay, now I'm doing a hostel, but to be doing stuff related to my career field while on this same adventure started to make it feel like it was a long-term sustainable path, and not something that was purely based on how it felt in the moment, not purely based on the journey, but also a little bit of the result to an extent, meaning further developing my passions and careers and things that I had trained in and stuff like that. And so yeah, I still do the farm and the farm to table now, and they're both still going very well. And then somewhere in that time, 2018 or so, I started making water kefir. Just probiotic beverages were too expensive. Um, what do for probiotic beverages and sourdough were like too expensive in town for me to afford, really. So I started learning how to make them. Eventually taught basically the farmers' wives how to make them. They work as cleaning staff and needed more hours, so I taught a couple of them how to make it. We produced maybe like 100 liters a week, and that's seasonally depending, and that is sold to private chefs, restaurants, a lot of the same clients as the farm. And it just started as something that excited me, and so I'm building that brand up, and that's had a really good year in the past year. Um, Adding flavors, adding production size, adding clients, and um, yeah,
So
that's
there's
where
kind
it's
of
at.
two distinct worlds. One world is the design world. So landscape design, understanding how to work with someone who owns a property and work with their vision, but create your own strategy and vision based on the utility of some of these things, but also the beauty and the art. And then there's like almost like hospitality and experience of serving people at this farm and building products. Like, what have you learned from all these experiences? Because it's a vast array. There's some complementary nature to this, which I can sense. Like, I imagine there's a lot of great lessons that have come from these businesses, and one of them is obviously that you followed the excitement. I'm curious what else you learned in this process of these different businesses.
I think it's that people want to be happy, and what does that mean? I think people want to be, you know, um, uh, the hostel taught me a lot about community and about people and about what is related, what's required for people's social health. I observe. I was a sociology double major, and so you're observing data points and making um, you're observing data points in sociology, and you're making assertions based on the data of observable traits of human beings. In the hostel, people were really happy to be around other people. The people were really happy to have less privacy, to have shared meals, to be invited to do something. Um, the hostel showed me very clearly that why it is that people um, are so drawn to this concept of community, and why community is often a successful concept in business as well. People want to feel part of something, and it was really so clear. You would have someone come in that was maybe a little bit introverted, was exhibiting signs of being, feeling a little bit isolated or having some negative emotions. And within a few days, you see a really dramatic transformation, and as if that person suddenly was being medicated by something, or if that as if that person was suddenly alleviated of something that was draining to them, and it being in the community and the little moments and living in a technologically you know rig- like a place that was behind technologically. When we first moved here and started the hostel, there was only 3G, so there's no you had a router with a 3G cell chip. So you have all these people from around the world who are living in the modern first world, and suddenly they're in this hostel. They don't have much internet, and it's a very small town. And the time spent around other people really seemed to make people feel super good. And even if they weren't talking to other people, it could just be that reading a book or something on a public sofa with a few people on the sofa. I would definitely assert that just the proximity of being around other people was very healing, very inspiring, very energetically productive. And then each of the other businesses, the same thing. People are so excited to learn about organic farming. People are so excited about it. The farm to table, it's basically a very simple meal on top of a mountain with an amazing view, easily to reproduce based on, interaction with nature, a communal thing. As it's a big table. We also mix and match groups, which is unusual for private fine dining. So you can have 3 or 4 different groups of 4 people, and they're all meeting each other. People really would like that component. You know, a lot of the time with the farm to table, people would say, "No, we want it to be private," and we'd say, "Well, listen, we can't do it for private, but people really like the mixing of groups." And it's just these same things that uh, make people seeing people happier and happier. The last couple of years of the farm to table, alcohol consumption has gone way down. Mocktails has gone way up. We did an event for like 40 crypto people from Lithuania or something, super ballers, and it was hundreds of mocktails. And so you're just seeing these trends, and it's just so unsurprising. It's just not surprising, and it's really ingrained in my perception of our species and of the world today, that I just know that certain things are going to be energetically productive for people, and it's very, very predictable. Time spent in nature, treating your body well. Oh, I love organic farming. It's good for the planet. It makes me feel good. Being around other people, meeting new people. That's really making people feel good. People are just coming alive. Even from the beginning to the end of a farm tour, 1 hour later, people are making more eye contact. They're exhibiting more signs of feeling engaged and excited, and so it's really just could not be more, grateful and blessed to be around so many projects and activities and systems which are meant to make people feel more alive and happy, really.
And I think that's one of the reasons I was so drawn to Recenter and going to Costa Rica on that trip, was just because I had to get out of the country, and I was like, what are my options? And I was following Ben and seeing him build in public this place that not only had all these amenities, but seemed to have all these people that were connecting over it. And of course, I went in low season and there wasn't a ton of people there, but there was still community there. There's still people there, for the workouts and at the gym, and that's how we met. And I think there's a lot to be said about how community is ingrained in the wellness industry, and it's the number one like leverage point is that if a wellness brand, whether it be a product that you're selling and it's water kefir, whether it's a farm to table restaurant, whether it's a wellness center in the middle of the jungle, having the community element is such an unfair advantage because people feel happier, they relate to it, they see themselves there, they connect to that brand. And that's really what we've been in a belief here in Medellin about, like, the community side is like our number one, and we're starting to now come around to like, okay, what's the next product we could build, what's the next thing that we could create here that serves that community. But yeah, it's awesome to see. And so you see in your world that community is really important, and obviously there's a legacy that you're building with these different projects that you're doing. But I'm curious, if you were to look back in 10, 20, 30, 40 years, however long it is, and you're looking back at your legacy in the wellness industry and the movements that you created, what would that be?
Wow, what a great question, man. I think that if my legacy could be helping people realize the connection between the various spheres of health, and their life experience, so that being social health, mental health, physical health, emotional health, and spiritual health, that little rituals and the effort put into those various 5 spheres make life so much more enjoyable. Kind of like, wow, we have all the pieces. It's so easy to feel more expansive and open and full of love and full of light if we slowly, are adding, adding coins to those various piggy banks. Water kefir practically makes itself. Organic farming practically does itself as well. Exercise, you just show up and do it. Choosing community opposed to isolation. All of these little choices can really change uh, someone's life experience and can produce a lot better results. And it's very easy. It's not related to challenging protocols or supplements or memberships. It's just I think that when it's internalized, that investing in these modes of health is easy and very energetically productive, that it becomes more like second nature to do, and there's less um, you know wasted time. There's less thinking about how to become satisfied or fulfilled or feel aligned. If you can just make a small investment in you know yourself, these things that I would that the world has provided, that God has provided, that Spirit has made accessible. So many of them are free, so many of them are easier, and so it's just about realizing it. So if I could have the legacy be anything, I guess it would just be um, awareness of how accessible love is, self-love and love for other people, through the choices that we make, and that anyone can do it, and it doesn't matter who you are, what your job is, what your background is, where you come from. There's choices that everyone can make right now, which are going to increase the feeling of love in their life.
Awesome. Yeah, man. I mean, I agree completely. Like there's these little rituals, these little things that we can do to enrich our lives, and just small practices that if we were to just take care of these little areas, um, and maybe end up with a red light mask on our face and do some fascia release,
Why
while
not?
doing some ice baths and saunas. Um, Graham, I hope this podcast was energetically profitable for you. Thank you for allowing me to
Very
borrow
much so, man.
that term. Thanks for joining us
Thank
in
you.
this beautiful location with all your greenery behind you, and to have your dog nearby. I also have my dog nearby somewhere. But yeah,
Yeah,
man, I
dog.
appreciate you, dog, for coming on.
Man, I wish I could give you a hug. It's such a great convo, and really was great to meet you. And I'm really glad for humanity that there are people out there like yourself who are just warriors of light and love and community and all of the lovely things that we were talking about here today. And I give you a lot of credit for being such a big contributor to the space. And I checked out your community a little bit on the socials in Medellin, and it looks incredible, above and beyond. I'm so glad for everyone there, and we hope that you come back to Costa Rica soon. And just want to thank you for doing this podcast and everything else that you're up to. Doing a super good job with it, and it's inspiring.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. You're
Yeah,
inspiring me as well. It's mutual. We can't do it alone. We do it together. So,
that's right.
all right, brother. Have a
All
great day.
right. Have a great day, man.